So for the last year, as I go down this audiophile journey, I've been speaking to a lot of manufacturers and they tell me they don't like the USB connector. And that's tough because it's so ubiquitous. It's on so much gear. Some manufacturers, Berkeley, for instance, they won't even put it on their DACs anymore. So what do you do? Stealth has a solution for that problem.
Loading, strike with the lyrics like I'm bowling. Keep pushing on, keep rolling. And when I listen, but I told him one more time, your favorite MC's born.
Today, I want to talk about how cables are much like cameras. And when I say cameras, I mean cinematography cameras. This is not a regular DSLR by any stretch of the imagination. It's not really designed for still photos. It's designed for cinematography. And these are similar. What do I mean by that? This is what I started doing videos originally on. It's a Sony FX3. By all reports, it does everything right, everything sharp, everything beautiful for cinematography, everything you could want. So why did I upgrade to the C70 other than it's a much larger camera? Because if you only use this and you only see what this does, you're going to be happy with it and it's going to be fine. But if you're like me, you wonder what else is there? And that's where this came into play. I realized that the Sony was technically sharp, technically good, didn't really do anything wrong, but it does not have the analog-likeness of the Canon C70. This is more cinematography-like. Can think of this as more of an analog version, and this is more of a digital version. Neither is right or wrong. It's a matter of preference. So if I had never seen the photos out of this, I would have continued to have been completely blown away by this. But I suspect audiophiles are much like video people and cinematography people and photography people, and that you always like the gear, the gadgets, and you want to see what else is out there and you want to get better. I'm going to link down below to a recent video I did of the Stealth USB T Select. And what makes this more unique, prior to this, my reference cable was the Siltech USB, which was the best I had heard up to that point. And what this does that's different is that this has an adjustable collar. This adjustable collar does not add sound, does not modify the sound, as some people like to think that bad cables do, or people say, well, cables can't add to the sound. Well, maybe they can, maybe they can't. I don't know. I'm not a technical guy. I only go by my ears. This takes away the interference that exists, and by moving it, you can find where it most takes away the interference. This led to the single most, I don't know the right way to say, revolutionary moment or aha moment or holy crap moment of just about any piece of gear I have ever reviewed. I talk about that again. I'll link to that video down below, where my wife actually thought I changed speakers when I put this cable on. I could not believe it. And it took away, I didn't realize how dirty, for lack of a better word, and contaminated USB was. As you'll see, I've actually got a space there. I am currently running my AudioQuest power conditioner. This is a Stealth Dream 2020. It is not a fire hose. It is a Stealth Dream 2020 power cable. And it's got a tunable collar, much like their other collars. I'm burning that in, so we'll have a review coming up on that. And I also have a review coming up on this Puritan power conditioner, which is now going to take a place in the system there, replacing the AudioQuest. The Puritan is excellent. We've also got some, Puritan is handmade in England. We've got some additional stuff coming up on grounding from them, grounding products. So we're going to be talking about that coming up. But let me go back. Where the USB T Select was it left me speechless. And I've probably heard hundreds of cables in my life, and cables, frankly, some are better, some are worse, some are some are pretty good. They don't usually impress me. So this now resides in my system, but I'm also running their Ethernet cable, which also has a tunable collar to get out that interference. They all have the carbon fiber connectors, and this is proprietary what this is made up of. So I think the combination of their tunable Ethernet plus this really allowed this to shine. So this, in my mind, was this, okay, the FX3. How could it be better? But I wondered. I've now got their double tune. It's got two slidable collars, a main and a fine one, adjustment. And I put this into my system. And I really genuinely went into it thinking, how much better can it be? So I let it burn in like I do with all my stealth cables. I usually put about 400 hours on them. Don't even listen to them. I just put them in, don't listen to it, let it run. That way I can come back and compare without my ears adjusting or anything like that from this to this. And I will tell you what I did in adjusting this one. This one, whereas with the single cable, you know, it was not a big deal to adjust it. I would just get up and play the same reference songs over and over. And by now, you know, it's the Live at Hollywood Bowl version of Liquid Love, Above and Beyond. And I also have a couple of Holly Cole tracks that I run. What I did with this one, because there was two cables, and I was really like, oh crap, am I gonna be overwhelmed by it? I employed the services of the wife, where I sat in the listening position, and as I would play the song, I would have her adjust first the major and then the fine. And it was really weird. You could hear the sound, I hate to say changing, but it was altering the sound in the sense of voices would become more or less sibilant in the Above and Beyond song. The main singer, it's alive. She's up on the stage at the Hollywood Bowl. As my wife would adjust it and it would get into the better or worse areas, the singer would move up and forward and larger. She would then get smaller and more sibilant and get into the background when it wasn't in the right spot. The audience would get more lifelike sounding and more lively. But there was a balance because there was a point at which you could make the audience too lively sounding and it would negatively affect the singer. So you can't focus on just one thing. It's better to have multitude of different types of attributes in the songs that you're focusing on so that you can fine tune it and find the balance. And then I would go to different songs and I would find what worked on that. So what was my takeaway on this cable? To put it in a nutshell, this cable is like the Canon C70. I really thought everything was great with the Sony until I shot with the Canon C70. And it really opened up a new way of seeing things and, frankly, a new way of hearing things. It was not as big a difference as going from a normal cable to their USB-T, okay, select. However, there was still, in fact, a substantial difference between these two cables. And now this is the part where I want to be really careful because this ends up being unfair to the USB-T select. After listening to this and going back to this sounded less real, less lifelike, a little more maybe fuzzy is a word for it, which is so unfair to this because this was so revolutionary to me and still is a revolutionary cable in so many ways. And I think that compares well to the Sony FX3. This is still a phenomenal camera by every measurement, and it still beats so many other cameras by every measurement. But if you want that next step, like you do with the Canon C70, with that little bit more, This is absolutely the way to go. And when you hear this, you're not going to be able to go back to this. If you hear just this, you're going to be wowed and amazed, and you're going to be happy for life. But guys, there's better. And that's the double tune. The double tune really does, by nature of having two adjustable collars, allow you to take out that much more noise and interference. So what is my closing thoughts on this? I'm going to say something that I really thought long and hard before I felt comfortable saying it. But I'm going to say it. And it's probably one of those things that you should never do as a reviewer. And the good news is I don't pretend to be, I'm not like other reviewers. I'm talking about my personal journey. I'm talking about my personal opinion. I'm telling you about what I hear, what I feel. I'm not here to offer objective measurements. I don't care how anything measures. I don't care what a company claims something does or doesn't do. I never even read the literature from Puritan. I just tried it. It either works or it doesn't. Now, I will read the manual to make sure I'm doing it correctly, and then I'll experiment beyond that. Regardless of whatever Stealth claims, and I don't even know what they claim, I haven't read their literature, these are endgame cables for me. And when I hear these cables and I hear their Ethernet cable in my system, all I think about is I don't need to focus on any other brand cables. I've got no curiosity any longer on any other cables to hear how they sound or perform. These are the Stealth cables in my mind. Whatever level you can afford is going to easily surpass anything else there is. And I say this having heard several different cables of theirs now at several different price points, and every single one has been transformational in the way that I hear music and what I've come to expect from cables. Again, let me briefly cover what I talked about in one of the other videos. To me, better cables would typically have more clarity, more lifelikeness, more aliveness. I came to realize with the Stealth that in those other cables, that would come at the expense of realism, at naturalism. And are there cables that may offer a titch more lifelike audience sounding, or I shouldn't say lifelike, I should say detailed audience sounding? Yes. Yeah, I have some of them, other brands. But they suffer in other ways. You realize that that's tilted up. You realize that that's a spotlight shining on it, that's not more natural. That's not more organic. Some people may prefer that other sound. That's okay. Not me. I want the natural and the organicness. And nothing I have ever heard in my life comes close to the Stealth. Guys, I don't sell any product. I don't own a store. I'm not a retailer. I don't really care what you go buy. I'm not trying to influence you. I'm having fun with this journey, sharing with you what I learned, what I like, and what I'm using. So where I'd started to go earlier before my ADHD kicked in was Stealth has got me wondering, how good could life be with Stealth speaker cable? We're about to find out with their power cable. And we're going to try this power cable on both the Luxman and also that other tube amp. And we're going to see how this affects that. I've heard this at Mark at Tone Studio in Indianapolis, at his studio, his store. And I heard a variety of Stealth cables. They are absolutely amazing. So I'm really excited to try that in this system. Guys, I don't have anything more to say other than to say, I really think that the comparison between a cinematography camera and a cable is an appropriate one. That there is really good that you could be happy with forever until you see that there's something more. And I will tell you, and please, please, please don't take this as me putting this select tune down. I am not. This was the most single revolutionary product I ever heard in my system, bar none. Bar none. But this double tune really is something very, very special that my honest advice to you is when you want to stop playing the cable chasing game and you want to stop wondering what else there is out there that's better, when you simply want to find the best there is, in my opinion, the best there is. You're simply the best. And I've heard cables more expensive than this. And this smokes them all. Just do not pass go. Do not waste your time. Go right to stealth. And it will really, truly bring out things you did not know your system could do. Guys, stay tuned. We got more reviews coming up soon. Hopefully in the next week, I'll be able to get on another one, depending upon, I just had an MRI this morning on my neck, which was not fun. But I've got so many more things to share with you and so many more audio adventures. And I appreciate your patience while I've been recuperating the last 6 weeks. Guys, we'll see you in the next one.